The problem with Christian YouTube now is that the people at the very front, first people you see like, oh, this guy's a Christian, are people like JiDion and Young Don, who aren't even Christians, technically speaking, because they deny the Trinity. And JiDion is a worse case because he's essentially a Jew, and a Jew that doesn't affirm gender roles in full because he believes females can be pastors. So he's basically a Jew. He's basically a Messianic Jew. And when I say Messianic Jew, I don't mean a Jew that just believes in Jesus. I mean like the denomination of Messianic Jew. He's very similar. It's basically the same thing because his pastor is basically a Jew. Okay, so Gideon's basically a Jew. He's not even a Christian because he denies the Trinity. So he's not a Christian and he basically follows Jew laws. Now Young Dawn is not as bad. As far as I can tell, his doctrines seem to be okay. Well, he's a Calvinist, so not really. But he's a Calvinist that denies the Trinity. He's a Unitarian, as is JiDion. He's not even, as much as I want to say Young Don's on our team, I want everyone to be on our team, and I don't like dividing people. Like Calvinism, yeah, it's wrong, I think that, but they're still Christians, right? The problem is when you start denying the Trinity. A Trinity is an essential doctrine of Christianity. You deny the Father, you deny the Son, as Jesus said. The Trinity is a distinct personhood of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. When you're Unitarian, you deny that. When you're modalist, you deny that. And I think it's quite interesting that the Trinity is so hard for a lot of people to believe, especially now because you have people following them and they're like, whoa, the Trinity makes no sense. The Trinity is very simple. It's three persons, one God, one essence. Okay? That's all it is. That's simple. And you can have biblical support for this. You have the Holy Spirit, the Father sending the Holy Spirit down on Jesus. That refutes Unitarianism, modalism. Because you know what Muslims say? They say like, oh, so God sent himself to God. That makes no sense. And that's true, but they don't understand the distinct personhood in the Trinity. But things on Unitarians and modalism, that objection makes sense. Because it's basically God sending himself to God. Why would he do that? And then you have the sacrifice of the Son, right? God sacrificed God to God. That doesn't make sense. And when Muslims say that, we say, well, you don't understand. The Father sent the Son sacrificed himself. Like, it makes sense. They're distinct persons, right? But on Unitarianism, on modalism, that objection seems valid. Yeah, God sacrificed himself. God sacrificed God to God. How does that work? Right? And of course, you have all the biblical support for the Trinity. So you have those, the two things I just mentioned. You have Jesus literally saying Father, Son, Holy Spirit, baptized in the name of that. And this is the real problem, remember, if you deny the Father, you deny the Son. That is why the Trinity is an essential doctrine. Jesus literally says, if you don't believe in the Trinity, deny the Father, deny the Son. You can't have Jesus if you deny the Trinity, you deny the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And Jesus talks separately about how he's going to send a helper, which is the Holy Spirit, not Muhammad. The atheists can be like, oh, Allah Akbar, Muhammadullah, the Jesus helper talk about Muhammad. But it's very clear he's talking about the Holy Spirit because he's talking about the helper dwelling within you. Obviously, Muhammad's not doing that unless you're Aisha and you're 9 years old, okay? So, Young Don definitionally isn't a Christian. Doesn't believe in the Trinity. And you know what I think is also very interesting? These are the same type of people that deny the Trinity on the basis that it's like, oh, well, it's pagan and it came up from, and the word Trinity came from a long time after. I'm not sure if Young Don makes that argument specifically, but I know a lot of Trinitarian deniers, Trinity deniers, they say stuff like that, and that's really stupid. Really, really stupid. If you're retarded, that makes sense. But if you're smart, you understand that the word Trinity just means three. Try three. Okay? 3, 1. Alright? That's all a Trinity is. So a Trinity is just a descriptive word of what already existed. And if you look, the Bible describes a Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, 3. Okay? All of which are God. Jesus is God, the Father is God, the Holy Spirit is God. The Holy Spirit, I will admit if you use the Old Testament and New Testament, you get the Holy Spirit as God more explicitly, but the New Testament, I will admit, the Holy Spirit is the hardest one to get to being God, although you do. The Father and the Son are very explicitly God, okay? You get the Holy Spirit, so you have 3. That's taught in the Bible, and then Trinity is just a descriptive word to describe this. So you have the Bible, and I know the Sola Scriptura people are going to want like that, but also you have the Apostolic Church Fathers taught a Trinity, the early Church Fathers. So That would be people like Ignatius of Antioch, Polycarp, Clement of Rome. Hold on, let me just make sure. And essentially all of them, if I recall correctly, yeah, Clement of Rome, basically all of them taught a trinity. And maybe not the perfect form that we understand now, but what all they said is, and this refutes Unitarianism, this refutes modalism, they said that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are distinct, and they are God. That there you go, Trinity. That's not Unitarianism. That's not modalism. It's not none of that crap. It's clearly Trinitarianism, and these are the Apostolic Church Fathers, which means these are the Church Fathers that came right after disciples, or the apostles. They were taught by the apostles, personally trained by them, right? So, where would they get this idea from the Trinity from? The Father, Son, Holy Spirit being distinct. Where would they get it from? They were literally taught by the original apostles. Then you have the Bible, which doesn't make any sense on Unitarianism or modalism, because it would be God sacrificing God to God. I mean, that type of stuff makes no sense. So I don't understand. And understand it's like logical problem of the Trinity and try parsing it. I understand that could get a bit complicated, but it's clearly taught in the Bible, right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all distinct. So to circle back to the original point, this is what Christian YouTube is like the forefront. People go on here and they're saying like, oh, Young Dawn, ooh, JiDion, yeah. Trinity, not true. Oh, Jew laws, yeah, we follow the Jew laws. Yeah, and Young Dawn was in that phase at a point, but he got out of it, thank God. Just needs to become a Trinitarian now. And preferably not a Calvinist, but that doesn't push him into the non-Christian camp. Oh, females? Oh yeah, females can be pastors, according to JiDion's pastor, right? Terrible. This is what we're dealing with.